So hi, welcome to Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Charlie from As Everything Unfolds.
And we're asking some questions to say about their new album, Ultraviolet. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
It's been pretty good. It's been a bit of a manic sort of couple of months. Like we've been doing a lot of touring and stuff. So we're sort of trying to catch up with a lot of it like now. So, but which has been it's been really nice. Like today, one of the singles hit 1 million streams on Spotify.
God damn, congrats.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's all kind of going quite quickly, but yeah, it's been really good.
Hell yeah! Well, the album rocks.
It's fucking immaculate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
So the whole album is kind of like centered around the idea of ultraviolet light. So I did a degree in photography and I did a lot of traditional darkroom practice and stuff like that. I've always kind of really enjoyed like conceptual work and, you know, things with a meaning, or, you know, My Chemical Romance is one of my favorite bands. So I love those concept albums and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I really want to try and blend my like two passions. So I was like, if I can bring in like my love of photography and art into my music, and the idea is that you can only see life in full color. So you can only see like color photographs through ultraviolet light.
Okay.
That's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of the idea. The art, in terms of the actual physical artwork, it was made up of a combination of assets that I'd like created myself and then given to our person that does our artwork, Abby, who is she goes under Flowers and Bones. She's done loads of stuff. She's absolutely amazing. Like, she can just see what's going on in my head. Like, I sort of give her loads of stuff and she's like, oh, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know, just something cool. And she'll always come back with something cool.
That's good.
Awesome.
You mentioned My Chemical Romance, so we do have to ask, what's your favorite My Chem album?
I don't even need to answer the
Nice.
I don't even need to answer the question. It's literally here.
Nice.
I love you had it on hand for
Oh
any
yeah,
occasion.
the thing is, it's one of those things I need to find a home for it, so it's just sort of on my desk.
And it should stay there.
Oh yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
So it was quite like relaxed and quite natural. You know, we weren't under a humongous amount of time pressure. We were under sort of, you know, actually we were kind of ahead of the game on the last album. We were already we were recording the second album on our album release show for our first one. So we were like a whole year ahead of everything else. And so the whole thing was very chill, very, very relaxed. And, you know, because we weren't touring as much because it was still in that weird bit post-COVID where tours were getting cancelled, especially like abroad, you know, European tours. Everybody was still a bit, you know, ticket sales weren't great. So it was kind of in a weird time, but it did allow us to kind of catch up on a lot of writing, which was good. But no, it was good because John in the band is a producer. So we kind of self-produce like pre-production and stuff like that. And it's very chilled out. We just go around, have some pizza, you know, have cups of tea and write some music. It's pretty, you know, it's very boring and relaxed really, but it's nice though because we can just kind of let it flow and we don't have to book time in. I'll sort of message John and be like, look, do you fancy doing some writing next week? And he's like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Like, that's as easy as it is. So it's very, very, very cool.
That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Ooh, what took the longest to write? Do you know what? I actually don't know because it was so long ago. It was, I think the most difficult one to write, I think, was probably Flipside. I think just from the vague memory that I have was because it was something a little bit heavier than, you know, and there was some time signature changes and stuff that we haven't really played around with much. And although it's completely fine and I got used to it, it was one of those things, it was quite jarring for me at first. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is not normally what we do. So it kind of took me a while to kind of get into that. But my personal favorites are, I think Ultraviolet is like the overall kind of favorite one, because it's kind of got everything in it. But also I really like Rose Bouquets, and it's like, I don't know why, it's just a super poetic, like proper emo banger. That's why I love it.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Right.
And I wanted to ask, because you were recording this album on your album like release show date, were you still able to kind of celebrate that album that you were just now releasing because you were recording this one? Or are you kind of like the person who's like, we recorded it, we've had it for a couple months, we're kind of sick of it, let's just move on to the next thing?
No, I think because we kind of do everything in like eras, I think, which for that specific reason. And I think for myself, and I think for the boys, it's kind of worked quite well, where it allows us to still stay in that moment. So when everything is visually tied, everything is like conceptually tied together, you can't really move on to the next thing, because it is so tempting when you're ready to release new music and you've got new music and it sounds great and you're so excited. It is easy to just abandon what you've had, even though for the audience it's brand new. For them it's brand new, and that's what you've got to remember. And that's why we always kind of stick with this whole like eras thing, because we're like, well, we don't move on to the next era until we've done with the first one. So it mentally helps, and it just creates that kind of consistency until we move on to the next thing.
Okay, that
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Makes sense. And also for favorite song, I was hoping you were going to say Flipside, because that is my favorite. But
it's my favorite chorus. It's my favorite chorus on Flipside. Okay. But I think because it's like a little bit heavier than what we normally do, it was kind of like I just have horrible memories of recording it, and it's like tainted my memory.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So had the track list for the album come about, did you guys write the opener be the opener, close to be a closer, just shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So we actually did this time, because we made the mistake of not doing that the first time.
Okay.
So the first album was a bit of a bloody mess, I'll be honest. And it was one of the big criticisms we got when the album was being reviewed. And we were like, yeah, we totally agree. Like, it was, it was our first album. We didn't really know what we were doing. And you don't really know what to expect.
Oh.
So we just had these, and some people think it really works, but we felt it wasn't perfect. But so for this one, we were like, right. Opening song, Ultraviolet, we kind of wrote these songs, and the closing song, which is All I've Ever Known, it was kind of meant to be that like anthemic. I hate to go back to My Chem again, but I have to, like that famous last words, that big like anthemic ending with that. And it kind of comes out with the piano, and we deliberately left a couple of seconds at the end of the song to kind of let people like readjust, so it kind of feels like you might want to listen to the whole thing again. So yeah, the whole thing, and Adam is the one that kind of does all the track listing. He's very, very good at working out the flow of our songs. I'm kind of just like, oh yeah, just whack them anywhere, like as long as that one's at the beginning, that one's at the end, I don't care. But he will sit for a long time and listen to all the songs together, like in all the different sequences, and he really got it right this time. I think he did a good job.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So when you sit down and listen to albums, are you like a shuffle person?
No, for albums, no. I'm not, and I'm so glad Spotify took away that functionality, because it is one, as a band and as an artist, you spend so much time creating an album. It should be listened to as an album. It's totally cool if you want to listen to the singles as they are, totally have no problem. But if you're listening to the whole thing, please don't shuffle it. That's just horrible.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
I think much more positive than the first one. I think, again, it's just like we've all kind of come into our own as people. We all are much more comfortable in ourselves. We feel, everything's going well. Like a lot of the lyrics were kind of written from a perspective of, oh, well, things are going, like even in Flipside, like as I spin in circles, all I see are lights. It's like literally like me just in that moment on stage when I'm just spinning around, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like it's just so amazing. And I think that was kind of the headspace, although I was having to still deal with the tail end of what, how I was on the first album, so much better. Like I said, the process was very, very easy, very stress-free. We've got a really good team. Like everybody was just so sort of, encouraging, and our management is great, label's been great, so we just had like nothing to complain about. It was so, which was nice for a change. I think it's nice for, although there was somebody recently that Impress said that because I wasn't sad anymore, I didn't write good lyrics. And I was like, that's fine.
Fucking Press is ruthless, bro.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And I'm like, do you know what? That's totally fair. I totally get that, because it just depends what you're looking for. Like, I think because the first album is very much like, very kind of deep and into that psyche. Second album's a bit more kind of like, still edges on those things, but definitely not as deep. And it's more kind of tying into the concept thing rather than being like a deep diary entry. And I think I just laugh because I just think it's funny. I'm like, that's fine.
Crazy thing to say.
So are you someone that like reads the comments because you keep referencing like all the negative press? Are you someone that reads the comments as well?
I don't tend to read comments from like people. We tend to read like reviews from like outlets because obviously they tend to be written by people who listen to a lot of music and they crit music as a job. And it is good. I know people are like, don't read it. I'm like, no, it is. There's been a lot of things that we've learned from reading, like I said about the track listing on the first album, and it was something that we kind of knew, but when other people were saying it, we were like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I think it is good to hear people out, and like I said, hear people out that are doing this as their job. And sometimes it's a little bit like, you have to just take it with a pinch of salt. Like there were a lot of people that didn't like Impressed, that didn't like the song Slow Down. They didn't like my shouting like in between vocals, and I think it was sort of but I was like, but that's just personal preference, because there were other people that were like, I fucking love it. So you can't take those comments and be like, oh my god, this is awful. But a genuine criticism we are very, very open to. Comments I tend to just steer clear of, because I'm like, it's either you are Paramore but heavy, you are this band, or you are a copy of this band. I'm like, I can't be arsed.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
That's
so
fair enough.
Just give it up.
Yeah. No.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should you do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
I think, do you know what? I listened to it for the first time on vinyl, like out loud recently, because I don't have a vinyl player, but Jamie in our band, the boys, most of them have vinyl players, but we played it and we just sat and listened to it, like, decent speakers, but I don't know why there's just some warmth from the vinyl, and especially this album. I don't know what it was, because I never thought that it would be like a vinyl album. Some albums are just much more suited to it, but it sounded great, and I was just like, oh, that sounds really cool. I do think it's definitely a good headphone album. Like, I think, as much as you try to, and engineers and whatever tries to make it sound good on everything, it doesn't always, and you physically can't make it sound the same on every single speaker or headphone. But I definitely would say, like, the vinyl surprised me. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, I would definitely recommend listening to that first.
All right.
Hell yeah.
And plug the vinyl. Where can people get it?
So we have it's available in, like, so it's regional. So there is like a link tree on our website. So on aseverythingunfolds.com, there's like a link to the vinyls, and it will take you to the one that's like best for you. I think so. Like, there's a European store, which is our label one, which does have an exclusive vinyl, which isn't anywhere else. But the other ones will be like, I think it's Plastic Head distribution for the UK. There is an Amazon for the US, I'm pretty sure. Okay. So there's like a selection.
Good.
Hell yeah, you got choices.
Yeah.
So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Oh, this one always gets me. I think cinematic. I think that's one word, because I think in our heads we kind of had, like, especially songs like Daylight, as it sounds really weird, but like it's like an end credit song. Like, we were like, oh, it would work so well like at the end of a film, like when the credits are coming up. So we were sort of like, I feel like cinematic kind of works quite nicely. Chaotic, because I think our music is a little bit chaotic, but we kind of love that for us. And what else? Fun, I guess. We always like songs like Felt Like Home. I think playing that song particularly live recently, that and Twilight, we've kind of realized how much fun we have and how much fun people have to our music, and that's just great. I just love it, because like, we're just, like I said, we're in a better headspace now, and we're sort of enjoying ourselves and enjoying the moments we're having live and with people and with our fans. And when everybody's like screaming like, oh, it's only ever felt like, I'm like, oh, love it. I love that moment. So yeah, fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I don't think I expect anything. Like, like for anybody to have any like preconceptions about how they should feel. I think just enjoy it for what it is. And I know there will be a lot there has been like a bit of like, oh, do I prefer the first album? Do I like the second album? Like thing. And, you know, I think there will be people that will prefer the first album, and that's totally valid. Like, when we were touring with Enter Shikari, I had to resist telling them that my favorite album is their first album, because I know that they will fucking hate that. So I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, I know how it feels. So I was like, I just won't.
Yeah, just tell them the new album's great. It is.
Yeah,
but...
and the thing is, I do love all their music, but I think it was just when I found them, that was the album that I sort of attached myself to.
Of course,
off topic. But I feel, yeah, like just go in with an open mind. I think, you know, don't have a preconception that you're going to get a heavy album or a soft album, or because I think, again, like, people had, I think this was a problem that we came across, especially on the first single when we released Felt Like Home. So many people were disappointed because they thought we were going to come out with like a heavy, like, you know, song, and they were like, this is shit. Like, we hate it. I'm like, that's cool, because I think at the time people didn't know that like songs like Flipside and Ultraviolet were coming. We did, so that's why we weren't stressed about it. But it kind of tainted some people's vision of how they viewed the album. But interestingly, there were people that at the beginning were not happy and then ended up listening to the whole album and were like, oh, as a whole piece of music, I really enjoyed it. So I think, yeah, open mind, I think, is the best thing to do.
All right.
So are you able to talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
I think just as a band, like, you know, we're on quite a small label, and they are amazing. Like, it's nothing, not a criticism at all. I think we've grown more than either of us anticipated in the time that we, you know, on one album. You know, when we signed to them, we basically were just a local band, you know, that they just had some interest in. And, you know, songs like On the Inside just completely popped off. Hiding for Myself, and you know, it's so financially for us, you know, we've not had a lot of budget to work with, so we've had to kind of dip into our own pockets and dip into the band's pockets, and, you know, we're sort of having to scramble around to try and make this album work as well, not through anybody's fault. It's just because that's been how it is. And I think the expectation was really high because how we'd grown, but our budget hadn't grown. So we were sort of like, we're going to have to do this on a very, very small fucking budget. And we did. And I think on the flip side of that, on the, like, although it was stressful, I'm kind of proud and pleased that we got the product we did with the budget we had, because when I told people, like, in bands, they go, how the fuck did you do that? Like, yeah. It's unreal. You know, we got Taylor Larson to mix our album, and on such, you know, a good like deal and stuff like that. And, you know, we worked with friends and we collaborated with people, and, you know, we sort of tried to make it work. And we, you know, we were like, we'll pay half your invoice this month and half next month, and everybody's been amazing. Like, our managers, you know, sometimes just be like, don't worry about paying me this month, we'll do it next month. And that's what I mean about having a team that's like, they care about the sort of longevity of what's happening, because we could easily be in court right now if people weren't, you know, we could have been in the hole and whatever, but everybody's just believes in the product and believes in the band so much that they're willing to sort of sacrifice something. And I think, you know, we as band members, we, you know, sacrifice a lot in our personal lives, but we haven't really given credit to the other people that have as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are surrounded by people that are like actually invested in the project and aren't just there for the paycheck, you know.
Oh, we're so lucky. Like I said, I think because we kind of collate, like, our manager, we knew him, like, he used to play in bands with us when we started out, so he's kind of come from the very similar place to us, and he's kind of growing with us. So, and it's, you know, really nice. And we've got like Pearl, our photographer, you know, she's always doing amazing things for us, like cutting deals when we need it, and just, you know, being amazing, and being, you know, we're always so patient with her as well. And I think it just goes both ways. I think respect both ways, I think, kind of makes it all work.
Totally agree. So for this question, we picture this, you're on tour, you're guessing for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Oh God. I'm trying to think of, because we've only really been in European service stations recently, and it's fucking terrible. The choices are awful. It's like, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Like, Germany, just not good. You go in, you're like, sometimes they love a Burger King or a McDonald's. The McDonald's is pretty good in Germany, I'll be honest. It's quite good. They do like waffle fries. They do like, and Burger King has vegan versions of every single burger on the menu.
It's
like, yeah, it's pretty mad. Like some of the things I'm like, okay, that's cool, but when you turn up at these services where they don't have any chains, they have like these, like, it's like a bratwurst box and it's just chips and sausages, and the sandwiches all have like, see, the peppers, like the vegetable sweet peppers, like, and they just chop them up and put them in every fucking sandwich. Like you'll be like, oh yes, a chicken mayo sandwich. Oh fucking thanks, green chopped peppers in it. I'm like, but I don't want that. And they'll be like, oh, and the sandwich combos are fucking strange. But anyway, my favorite go-to would normally be, I have to get the pickled onion Lay's crisp, which is like Walker's in the UK. Pickled onion Lay's crisp. That's the first thing. A big bag. I pick it up when I get there because you can't get them in the UK. And paprika crisps because you don't get them in the UK either. And like a croissant. Sometimes I'll just get a croissant because I'm like, it's safe. I know what I'm getting.
Okay.
Is that a little bit of jam, a little bit of cheese?
No, just sometimes a plain one because everything's got ham in it. Because like don't like, if the thing's like, because I'm like mostly veggie, so I'll eat chicken every now and again. I want to have, like, it's more like when you're touring, sometimes like the options are very minimal when you're in weird places. So I'm like, if I have to eat chicken, I will. But like, so when I'm like, I'll just have a plain croissant, some crisps, and then I'll get some fruit when I get to the place. I'll be fine. Exactly. Vitamin C tablets, like that's what I live off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pickled onion potato chips sound wild.
Oh, that's quite normal. Like we have a crisp called Monster Munch, and they're like in the UK. Yeah. They're like it's in a purple packet, and they're like violent pickled onion. Like it makes you hurt, but it's great. They're great.
It's worth it though.
Oh yeah.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you two answers because one's funny and one's serious, right? So the serious one is we'd probably be fajitas, because when we're as a band, we always like make fajitas because, again, some people are veggie, some people are not, and it means that everybody can kind of have what they want. And we normally just do that. And Adam used to be a chef, so he will often cook. So he'll do chicken, peppers, beef, halloumi. We'll have a bit of everything. So I think that kind of encapsulates the band as a whole. The other one, and this would be funny for the boys, it's called red water chicken. So it's so when we were at recording once, so we'd normally take it in turns. We'd stay at like an Airbnb and we'd take it in turns to cook like every night. So like my night, then Jamie's night, then John would cook, and we kind of made it fair. So Jamie was like, oh, it's okay guys, like you're at the studio, I'll cook dinner tonight. And we were like, cool man. He's like, I'm gonna make a chicken curry. And we were like, sounds banging, sounds great, right? It was fucking just like chopped tomatoes in a tin and like some chicken, and then we were just
oh my god,
and we were just like, he's actually a very good cook, this is the irony of the whole thing, but we were just like pissing ourselves because we were like, it's just red water chicken, like it's just red water chicken. So it's become this like long running joke now where like we'll be like, James like, oh, I'll cook. We're like, no, if it's fucking red water chicken you won't. Like it was just it was one of those moments, I think he just forgot like that he had to put other things in. I think he was just like cooking it, and then he put it down. He went, "This doesn't look right," and we're like, "No, it really doesn't look
not
right.
at all."
No, so it was very funny though. It was very funny.
Nice.
Did you guys eat the red water chicken, or did you guys just say okay?
It wasn't great. It was pretty fucking tasteless, but it was one of those things where I was like, it's not inedible, so I'm gonna have to eat it. And we were all sat there like, yum.
Tomato water.
It was like he'd put the spices in, but it wasn't like thick. It was just like soup. It tasted like it was like curry soup with chicken in it. That is basically what it was. So yeah.
That's hilarious. So for the last couple questions, we're gonna shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh, okay. This is always a difficult one because there's a podcast called Off Menu as well that I don't know if you guys listen to. It's like two UK comedians, and it's a similar thing, like you pick like your dream meal, and I've thought about this so hard and I can never get it. So I think like for starter, if I'm going to do it in courses, okay. For starter, I think I'd have like nachos, but like loaded nachos, like everything, like sour cream, guacamole, like salsa, jalapenos, everything. Piled up. That's what I'd have. And then for main, I'd probably have like a red Thai curry. I absolutely love like Thai curries, like yellow curry, anything like that, with prawn crackers or like Thai crackers. Ooh. And maybe some spring rolls on the side. Ooh. And And dessert, I think I'd have to go for like a brownie with like vanilla ice cream. Yeah,
That
can't go
is
wrong.
that is a delicious meal that you just prepared for us right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got many options because sometimes it's a roast dinner. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I fancy a roast dinner, but that's what I'm feeling today.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I love it. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Middle Earth.
Damn, okay.
Yeah,
Where?
yeah, just
Are you just roaming or?
yeah, Hobbiton. I quite like Hobbiton. It'd
Mm.
be very nice. Maybe like chill out with Tom Bombadil, just just hanging around with the people that we don't know who they are and the little hobbits and everything. And yeah, so it'd be very cool.
That'd
If
be
not,
awesome.
I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan as well. So anything like
Absolutely. I love that.
Skyrim, anything like that. So yeah.
All right. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said the most important question. What's your favorite color?
I know people are going to expect me to say purple.
Mm-hmm.
But actually it's like a really dark teal, like a really sort of dark turquoise, kind of just really like I don't know. And it's not a color you come across very often. So I always quite liked it. So it's kind of like not seafoam green, but a really dark teal.
All right.
Very
Perfect.
specific.
Yeah.
Love it. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
So we are doing a headline run in September. So we're doing 2 UK shows. So we're doing London Islington Academy and Manchester Academy 3. And we're also doing a whole run of EU shows, which I don't remember all of them because there's quite a few. So they're on our website. And we're also doing a tour with Electric Callboy at the end of the year in October. So that'll be very fun. So if you can't make any of the UK dates on that one, you can come to that one. And I think that's it.
All right.
That's fucking awesome.
Well, thank you for sound. It's been Charlie from As Everything Unfolds, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.